Hi, this is Mr. Sato. Let's talk about hooks. Okay, listen to this. There are three guys stranded on a deserted island. And one day, a magic lantern washes ashore, they rub it, and lo and behold, it contains a genie, who grants them one wish each. The first guy wishes that he was off the island and back home. Poof, he's gone. The second guy wishes for the same thing. Poof, he's gone too. The third guy looks around him, sees that he's all by himself, and says, "Gee, I'm lonely. I wish my friends were back here." Now, I don't know if you think that's funny. Maybe you don't. But as soon as the joke began, you knew it was supposed to be a joke, right? The situation got your attention. The three guys, the deserted island, and so on. It set up certain expectations that made you look forward to the punchline. In an essay, the hook is like the setup to a joke. Really, a better metaphor might be the bait rather than the hook. But its purpose is to grab your reader's attention and make him or her want to read what comes next. Sometimes I say that in an academic essay, it's the best opportunity to do a little imaginative writing because the rest of the essay is mainly analytical in nature. So here are 5 different ways to approach the hook. 1. The inverted pyramid. 2. Fact or statistic. 3. Anecdote or personal experience. 4. Rhetorical question. And 5. Bold pronouncement. First, the inverted pyramid. An inverted pyramid is wide at the top and narrow at the bottom. Inverted means upside down. In news writing or journalism, this term means something very different. But for our purposes, essay writing, it means this. You start out with a broad, abstract statement that narrows down to your thesis. So let's say your thesis is something like this. The theme of Macbeth by William Shakespeare is that the truth will eventually come out. We'll use this thesis for all of this video's examples. So what's the main idea in this statement? The words theme and Macbeth by William Shakespeare are subjects, not ideas. So the main idea must be that the truth will eventually come out. This is the specific narrow point at the bottom of your first paragraph. On the pyramid, it goes right here. Above that, before that, is your hook. So talk generally about the truth coming out. Not in the book, but in life in general. You might say something like, every one of us is told a lie at one point in our lives, but because lies always contradict something we know to be true, lies are nearly always exposed, revealing the truth beneath them. Then you just need a little transition into your thesis like, Macbeth learns this the hard way. So just line them up. Hook plus transition plus thesis. So this is what your first paragraph will look like. Every one of us is told a lie at one point in our lives, but because lies always contradict something we know to be true, lies are nearly always exposed, revealing the truth beneath them. Macbeth learns this the hard way. One theme in Macbeth by William Shakespeare is that the truth will eventually come out. Some teachers or professors will ask you at this point to follow your thesis with a preview of your main supporting arguments, which fits the idea of the inverted pyramid perfectly because the evidence is even more specific than the thesis. However, in short essays, 2 to 3 pages, this step may be unnecessary. Ask your teacher. A second kind of hook is the fact or statistic. In this kind of hook, you start with a startling fact or a relevant statistic. Again, using our thesis about truth in Macbeth, here's a statistic and a transition that you might use for the same thesis. Quote, people lie in 1 out of every 5 conversations lasting more than 10 minutes, according to Alison Comet writing for Psychology Today magazine. If Macbeth is any guide, then most of those people are going to get caught because one theme in Macbeth, etc., etc. A little bit of research can quickly turn up a usable statistic, but remember to cite your source, as I did here, and try to choose a source that you think your teacher will consider reliable. Then there's the anecdote or personal experience. An anecdote is a little story designed to illustrate some point you're trying to make. For example, in 1998, President Clinton had an affair and was impeached. Although the affair was not an impeachable offense, Clinton was impeached for lying about it under oath. And the truth came out anyway. Your transition could be, the president's crime was small compared to murdering a king, but both men tried unsuccessfully to escape the truth. It caught up with the president, and it caught up with Macbeth. Then follow this with that thesis about the truth always coming out. A personal experience hook is usually interesting, but ask your teacher if it's okay to use personal pronouns like I, me, my, you, and your. An example would be, when I was 8 years old, my mother asked me if I had broken her coffee pot and hidden it in the garage. I did it. I was guilty. But I denied it, no matter what she said or how many times she asked. It wasn't until I was older that I realized how obvious my guilt was, and that with each repetition of my lie, I was only breaking her trust in me into more pieces than I had broken that coffee pot. Next, the rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is when you ask a question to which you don't actually expect an answer, like, have you ever told a lie? Did you eventually get caught? This kind of hook is easy, but as a result, it's often overused and is unlikely to impress your reader, so I advise caution. Still, it can be effective if used with a little bit of imagination or originality. Lastly, the bold pronouncement. If you say you've never told a lie, then you're lying. I found that hook in an internet article at businessinsider.com. Or if your teacher says never to use those personal pronouns like you, here's another one. Everyone lies, including the person who wrote the sentence, as well as the person who is now reading it. But most of those lies will eventually be found out, as the main characters learned in Macbeth. And as always, follow your hook with a transition and a thesis. Now here are 3 hooks to avoid. Okay, there's nothing inherently wrong with the first 2, but they're so boring and overused that you should avoid them like a kid with a stomach flu. The first is the dictionary quote. It may be just my school, I don't know, but I've seen way too many hooks like this. Quote, Webster's Dictionary defines truth as the state of being the case, factual, the body of real things, events, and facts. Unquote. Like the rhetorical question, this could be used imaginatively, but the dictionary definition hooks that I've seen are almost always lazy and unoriginal. Do not use these. In the same vein, the Googled quote is usually copied and pasted without any real thought. If you tell the truth, you never have to remember anything. Mark Twain said that. Now, I agree. That's a great quote. But student writers rarely take the necessary second step of commenting on the quote with any sort of originality. And besides, like the dictionary quote, it's nearly always a bad idea to begin or end your essay with someone's words other than your own. Possibly the worst hook of all is the I was thinking about what to write and came up with this. Anyone beginning his or her essay with this should be struck on the head repeatedly with his or her own computer. But whatever you do, don't skip the hook. Even these bad examples will get you a better grade from me than opening with your thesis, minus any sort of attention-getting intro. It's like walking up to someone and saying, "Can I borrow your bike?" It's too blunt. It's overeager. It has no style. You need to preface it by giving your reader some idea of what's coming. Hey, old friend, BFF, pal, buddy, I'm in a real bad situation and I wonder if you wouldn't mind helping me out. That's a hook. If you know how to write an effective, attention-getting intro, you're more likely to get your reader on your side, ready to go along with your reasoning and hear what you have to say. And if that reader is your teacher or professor, you're more likely to get a grade with which you will be satisfied. Once you're done with this step, you are already off to a good start. Good luck with your essay.